headphones so don't get too much echo from my end. Cool. All right. So first things first, does anybody have any questions about kind of the organizational stuff? Hopefully you had a chance to look through the syllabus. In particular, does anybody have any questions about the extra credit opportunities? None of those are assignments, but you have a gazillion different chances and different venues to kind of get into some forest and outdoor recreation stuff. I've already started getting notifications from DSS for a couple of students in this class. So if that's you, I've probably already seen that email, and I'll be responding to those and following up as we go kind of the rest of today and end of this week to finish things out tomorrow. So any questions about the syllabus or stuff from Tuesday, the 19th? All right. If your microphone is broke, or if you know, particularly love joining the audio chat, then feel free to post questions and comments in the text chat here in Zoom. It's pretty standard interface. You guys kind of know how to do that. All right.
Can I ask a question really quick?
Yeah, sure.
So where do we go to see those extra credit assignments on D2L?
That's a good question. Okay, so we had a huge, about page-and-a-half long list of different opportunities and locations called from previous years listed in the back end of the syllabus. So that's your first place to check. Since those, some of those like specific bounded events are, you know, they're from previous years. Those particular ones may not be available, but usually like the organizations and places that put together those things are still around, right? So going on a guided hike with the wildlife folks at Crab Orchard National Wildlife Refuge. You can go kind of walk around the edge of the lake, and typically they'll do like a hike to take you to a bunch of the different bald eagle nests. Here along the Great Mississippi Flyway, the Mississippi and sort of the lower half of the Ohio, and all the tributaries to the Great River system. We get a lot of bald eagles in this area, at least now that they're kind of bouncing back from the, the 1950s and 1960s when folks were using DEET to try and kill off a bunch of insects, and also kind of killing off our national symbol bird. So that's one opportunity. And the schedule for those hikes, for example, that'll change a little bit each year, kind of based on, when they're able to offer stuff. And of course, COVID is, throwing a wrench in all kinds of organized activities like litter pickup along trails and stuff like that. But things like trail maintenance, we were talking about mountain biking the other day. If you're into more like do stuff with your hands and body instead of kind of sit in a chair kind of thing, there's lots of trail volunteer like maintenance, just trimming back stuff, picking up litter, available throughout the semester. And kind of the secret with the extra credit opportunities is that you're going to learn a heck of a lot more about, or learn it a lot better, kind of experiencing it and hearing folks like Kelly Pearson, the Trails and Volunteers Coordinator on the Shawnee, the interpretive staff at Crab Orchard National Wildlife Refuge, a bunch of different organizations run hikes through Giant City State Park, all of that stuff. It all works a lot better, when you're out in the forest doing some forest recreation and forest rec management related stuff versus, sitting in a classroom or sitting at home in a class lecture or watching a Zoom video, something like that. So to answer your question, TJ, the course website and on my website, logan-park.org, I'll be forwarding like job postings and announcements to there. And sometimes I'll throw in some of the extra credit announcements too. I'm never quite sure when those are going to come in. Like I post that stuff as it hits my email inbox, or as I see announcements on, Facebook or other social media. So the short version, the TLDR, is that we don't know what all those opportunities are going to be this semester because they get announced kind of as they're happening.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Cool. Yeah. So if you want to be proactive about it, if you want an excuse to go out and hike a couple of miles and get some credit for it, use the list off the syllabus to kind of pick some spots that you might or might not be familiar with, or just kind of jog your memory on. Oh yeah, Giant City has a bunch of different trails of different types and stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah, and the Shawnee, of course, has a ton of stuff available too. So yeah, that's a real good question, and I absolutely want everybody to get like 150% credit in this class. Like, you can literally do that. There's no sort of limit to how high you can stack the extra credit here. And you're gonna, you cannot not learn stuff about forest rec and forest rec management. I mean, what it's like to be a trail maintainer when you're doing a little bit of volunteer trail maintenance. This is also kind of secretly, from my perspective, designed to help you build some professional connections in forestry. So in senior seminar, I just sent Zacheck a PowerPoint on how to get federally employed as a forester, a park ranger, conservation police, all that sort of career cluster job titles. A lot of my students have gotten up into the system and then spread out all over the country wherever they wanted to work, or stayed here locally in Southern Illinois by starting to get into this stuff just on like a volunteer basis. Like, you head out one Saturday morning for a 2, 3, 4 hour trail maintenance volunteer session with Kelly Pearson. And some of these guys and gals find they really like it. And then they ended up getting, hired at Touch of Nature, like Ray and Taryn Bieri we were talking about on Tuesday. And now they're getting paid to build and cut some real high quality mountain biking trails out of Touch of Nature, which is right next to Shawnee and right next to Giant City State Park. Others will get into some of that trail maintenance stuff, or, just like volunteering to pick up litter with your fraternity. That still counts for this. You can get double credit for that. And then you start talking with Kelly Pearson, you find out she's pretty chill, pretty cool. And then, maybe you show up to a couple others, and then pretty commonly she'll say, hey, we're going to have a couple of spots open on our paid trail seasonal maintenance crews. If you want, I can send you that job announcement when it comes up. And, some folks will sign on with that, and kind of one guy, Justin Dewey, started volunteering and then seasonal trail crews. I got hired on as a permanent trails guy on the Shawnee, came back, got his master's degree at SIU, went back to the Shawnee, and now he's doing like full-time permanent, like land management stuff, kind of some of the legal side of things with land swaps and landowners around the Shawnee and stuff like that. And it all just started because we were chatting together, just like walking down the hallway one day, and I was like, hey, it sounds like you really like, working with a shovel and a fire rake and stuff like that. Why don't you volunteer a couple of times with Kelly Pearson, see how it works out? The dude's got a legit career now, right out of that. So this is secretly also designed to kind of hook you guys and gals into kind of the workflow of how you get work, if that makes sense. So super long answer to your question, but hopefully you guys are feeling pretty good about jumping in on just kind of the networking, getting some exercise, some fresh air, stuff like that. All right.
Sweet. Yeah.
Good question. I want to spend some extra time on that right at the beginning of the semester, so we don't have to scramble in late April when exams are looming and everybody's tired and just ready to be done anyway. It's pretty all right. This is decent hiking weather right now, for sure. What other questions do you guys and gals have for me? That was a really good one, and I want to spend some sort of good, solid time on those right away.
This isn't really a question, but like, could you fix the terms and definitions of video? Because right now, like, I keep trying to access it, but it keeps going, says there's an error, like it won't like show me the video, and And it's not
Okay.
just me, a couple other people it's happened to as well.
Gotcha. All right, I hear you on that. So first question is, are you guys looking at the PowerPoint in like embedded in the D2L like web viewer thing? Or are you downloading the file and opening it up in PowerPoint?
I do either, whichever is there, whether it be PDF or PowerPoint. I just download the first one, then print it out so that I could have it on hand.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you. It's static
Okay.
again.
Let's see here. All right. This will take a sec to switch over to the hard line instead of Wi-Fi. I'm in my office right now and it's got a bunch of cinder block walls, so the Wi-Fi signal's terrible.
Oh, okay, so that's why.
But am I sounding a little bit better now?
Yeah, you're sounding better.
Cool. All right. So yeah, so to restart that discussion, the built-in like preview viewer in D2L will break videos. It won't show animated GIFs. It won't. A bunch of the video file formats just completely confuse it and stuff like that. It's not the best website, but it'll get us there sooner or later. So
The audio, I know you put up a bunch of audio ones. I've been using
Yeah.
that audio by, like, if there is a possibly a video more, cause like I like to follow what you say with like where you are at the PowerPoint visually. That way, like I
Yep.
don't get confused on like where are you at this are you at this page number or are you at this page number, and then I get confused if it's just by me listening to it, because sometimes they overlap because they're the same subject on the, like, which slide is the same one kind of thing. I don't
Sure.
want to get confused and miss out on all the stuff.
Fair. All right. So we got the video and audio formats of kind of, me taking folks through this stuff. And then for some of the PowerPoints, there's discrete audio embedded for each slide. And if you're looking at the PowerPoint, again, through the D2L website, it won't even show that those audio files embedded like even exist on that slide sometimes, and other times it does show it. So it's like, who knows what's even going on. So what you definitely want to do is like fully download the PowerPoint and have that available while you are watching the video or listening to the audio file. They're the same data, it's just with or without the video frames. As you're going through the PowerPoint, and then the PowerPoint will also have those embedded audio clips. Usually they're pretty short if I'm embedding something in a single slide instead of like a continuous video or audio file. It'll be like 30 seconds up to maybe a couple of minutes long per slide recording. All right, so it's a little bit complex, but once we get it started and sort of settled and figured out here this first week, I promise it'll be less painful throughout the semester.
So will the
if you
stuff
need
on the
access
slide be
to
the same thing
PowerPoint,
as?
if you need access to PowerPoint, as a student, I think you guys and gals can all download a free student license for it, like all the Office apps and stuff like that, especially if you're on campus. And I'm not sure if they'll let you download stuff off campus, but like on the campus network, it all works fine. And I think your student ID is enough to log you into like Microsoft 360 online or whatever it's called now. And you should, even with a halfway decent, smartphone or tablet, be able to fully, move through those PowerPoints as well as on a laptop or desktop computer. I'm guessing you probably don't want to hang out too much in a computer lab this semester on campus. I don't even know if they're open, but yeah, you should be able to on a good smartphone or tablet or laptop or your gaming battle station with your MSI chair and your mechanical clackety LED keyboard. You should be able to download and open the actual PowerPoint files and run everything just fine that way. If
So
you have
will the
trouble
stuff,
with that, let me know. I want to know that right away for sure. But yeah, trying to do any of the stuff through the D2L website itself is going to be just a steaming pile of a disaster.
so will the stuff on PowerPoint be different from the stuff on the audio?
Nope. So the audio and video are me going through those class discussions with you.
But the
And
clips, because you said there's clips inside each slide, so will those be possibly different?
it's kind of the same stuff. Sometimes it's I'll express it a slightly different way because different folks have different learning styles.
Okay.
So I'll try to use like, maybe slightly different wording or slightly different examples or maybe a related but different somehow like application or scenario about the principle that we're talking about on that particular slide. So
All right.
it's a lot to juggle, but download the PowerPoint and use that as kind of your home base, move through that slide by slide, and then let the audio or video just kind of maybe play in the background while you're doing that, if that makes sense. Or you
By
can
the way,
listen,
there's two,
you can do that separately, like one after the other. It really kind of depends on how you like to learn things. So other questions on that? That's a really good one. Like we're not gonna get anywhere if we don't get this ironed out. So let's kind of live right there for a minute and make sure everybody's good to go on that.
also, for like the PowerPoints and stuff, are you gonna be doing like a day before, so, or are you gonna do it like the day of and try it, and we're supposed to try and like listen to the recordings or listen to the audio before we go to class? Or how are we gonna try and do that?
Yeah, great question, man. So the PowerPoints are, I'll have us kind of on a schedule for them. But increasingly you'll be able to kind of jump ahead on stuff if you want to front load your semester a little bit and get through them fairly early. Otherwise, if you want to sort of go lockstep through, they're all sort of scheduled and paced throughout the semester, but they'll all be available fairly shortly. I've got all the history ones, all the definition ones up already, and that's fine. It's whatever. And the idea is it'll get us to a spot where you'll have the chance to go through the PowerPoints kind of on my schedule or before. And I'll put sort of on the D2L calendar and the checklist kind of when we're approximately going to be doing each thing. That schedule gets more and more fluid towards the end of the semester, the second half of the semester, as the weather gets nice. And again, we're meeting on campus together outside to do and practice some of these field skills versus, it's kind of cold and windy and gray today, and the concentration level would not be high. Like the learning value would not be high on doing an outdoor lab at the moment. So yeah, we'll have hopefully for you guys plenty of flexibility time wise on these as well. So for example, earlier today is when I posted the links to the definition stuff that we're just starting on today, and the history section, which is the better part of a month's worth of content altogether. And of course, I'm not expecting everybody or anybody even to have even clicked start on any of that stuff before our class session today, because it only went up an hour before class.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Right. And so I'm also not going to have the expectation that that 100% of everybody has a particular PowerPoint like done and comfortable and good to go by the end of a particular class session as well. Because again, some of you guys are remote the whole semester. Some folks are down with COVID and just kind of getting back online and dealing with lingering brain fog for months. The so-called COVID long haulers, right? It's going to be a rough semester. So I'm going to be a little bit flexible about our our timelines and specific due dates for these. So in general, try and stay with kind of center mass on the class. Like right now we're doing terms and definitions. Everybody kind of work on terms and definitions lately. And if you have some spare headroom in your schedule and some energy, after that, after you're super solid on terms and definitions and the kind of distinctions between them, then it's okay to jump ahead into some of the history stuff. But if you're still kind of wrapping up on the definition stuff, by the time we get to the first part of the history section, the ancient era, that's okay. That's not going to mean you're flunking the class because you're already behind. Oh my God, don't freak out. It's essentially fine, because as long as we all sort of get to where we're going by the end of the semester, I'm good with that, right? So there's no cosmic need for us, for all of you guys and gals, to be 100%, locked and loaded, ready to go on Friday, January 22nd at 9 a.m. on terms and definitions. Like, as long as you get there sooner or later, I'm good with that. And again, that's totally because of COVID. We're just gonna have to be a little bit more flexible on timing. Some of you guys and gals kind of struggle with a more flexible schedule, and I understand that. I appreciate it. So I'm going to try my best to kind of reiterate this throughout the semester, that if you're feeling a little bit behind, that's okay. Ask me in our class session or during office hours later in the afternoon, or send me an email or text message saying, Park, I'm struggling with this online stuff. I can't get into it. At that point, we'll kind of help adhere to that more sort of rigid and structured and laid out linear schedule for the semester, and when we're doing each part of our curriculum for this class. But yeah, if you're not struggling with that, it's okay to sort of lag behind a little bit or race ahead on a particular part of it if you're particularly excited about that. That's okay by me. Okay. So however you need to get across the finish line is how you're going to do it this semester for this class. All right. If to the extent that we have any quizzes and stuff like that are about a particular content section, there will generally be up to a week or two of time lag between like seeing that stuff for the first time, like let's say the modern era of the history section, so 3 or 4 sections into our next section beyond what we're in right now. Say we get to that in 2 weeks. I'm not going to throw a quiz at you on that stuff until at least 3 weeks, probably 4 have passed, because I want to make sure everybody's got plenty of time. Especially if you're working part-time or full-time off campus. If you're down with COVID for 2 weeks, right? We want to be flexible to that and make sure that your classmates are able to keep up with you overall, if you are not wrestling with that. Okay, cool. So super long answer, kind of complex, but the basic sense is, yes, we have a schedule. If that's the right way for you to get through, use our schedule. I'll put that up on our calendar, and again on our course checklist is another tool for that. And then if you are more of I need to do things kind of at my own pace, maybe even slightly out of order, that's okay too. As long as you sort of generally, mostly-ish, sort of keep pace-ish, you should be okay in this class. All right. And if you genuinely come down with COVID and you're just completely slammed for a month, let me know. We'll work it out. You can have some extra time to prep for the quizzes that you miss and stuff like that. Like I'm not interested in making difficult self-quarantine even harder. Okay. All right. So Raul, that was a big long answer. Hopefully that helped address that a little bit. Good. All right. What other questions do you have? Let's make sure everybody's feeling real good and comfortable with it. Is that it for now? All right, cool. Let me check my chat channel. Looks fine. All right, so let's, just so that we're all on the same web page here, let's again kind of run through it real quick. So I'll show you with the screen share here kind of what the basic workflow is, and get that rolling here real quick. All right, so hopefully everybody can see my Safari, my internet browser window. So just logged on to D2L and we'd go to Forestry 220. There's only one section of it, so everybody's kind of in the same bin. We're all in this hand basket, and why is it getting warmer and warmer? All in the same section. All right, so this morning, we had an announcement about 2 hours ago now to start in on terms and definitions. So this is the first thing that's going to pop up when you hit our course website. And I gave you kind of a breadcrumb trail of how to get there. So if you look at the top of the screen, the content link is the third one. And then there's a folder in there for forest rec management terms and definitions, pretty straightforward. And then a whole bunch of files. And so it might be kind of tense or intimidating to look at that big old list of files and like, oh God, Park is throwing us to the nerdy data wolves here. This is all the same stuff, just in different formats. So 480p video format, it's a smaller sort of self-encapsulated, I think it's an MP4 video file. Here's an audio track of literally that video without the video data. So it's a smaller download if you're on mobile data and stuff like that. MP3 is pretty heavily compressed as well. Of course, that's just audio too. The OGG Vorbis format is an open source version. If you're not interested in paying for Windows or Mac, you can use Linux and run OGG audio files on that. And then I've also got the PowerPoint in a couple of different formats too. So a PPTX, which is a modern PowerPoint format, the old school PPT format. That's these bottom two links here on the list, the two terms and definitions, both of those files. And then just converted that to a PDF, which is going to destroy any embedded videos, right? And embedded audios. Most PDFs are pretty much just for text and links. But if you're on your mobile phone, for example, and you just want to like kind of maybe scroll through this once kind of quick to get a survey of it while you're at the gym on a treadmill or elliptical or walking around in the woods or something like that, the PDF might work a little bit better on your phone as a stopgap until you can get to a proper computer running Microsoft PowerPoint to actually look at the terms and definitions file. Okay, so the WAV file is uncompressed audio, and then the terms and definitions slides as images. It's literally a bunch of JPEGs in a row in a zip file. Any computer, even a potato, should be able to run the slides as images. But again, no video or audio embedded in that, okay? So I'm trying to make this as available to everybody as possible in a bunch of different formats, but it could lead to some confusion of like, which of these files do I use? Okay, they're all the same thing, just in wildly different formats. All right, so yeah.
Sorry, real quick. The two PowerPoints at the bottom, is there a difference between them, or is it just the same one? Like the two PowerPoint presentations?
Yeah, it's the same information, but there's an old version of PowerPoint and a new version of PowerPoint. And so you're seeing two different files. So if somebody like, I don't want to be that guy who makes you have to get a new laptop just to run the stuff on this class. So if you have like an old school version of PowerPoint from like 2003 or something like that, we got you covered. So that's those. All right, so here's what the terms and definitions PowerPoint looks like in the web preview, and it's fine. And the video and audio will have a bit of a discussion about these things. Like, why is Park throwing pie charts at us at the beginning? That's weird. All right, there's some pretty important ideas in here, and so on and so forth. And how kind of life has changed since back in the day. But there's no functional animated images like this should be in the web preview. This is animated, this is animated, this is animated. You get the sense that this is kind of it's more like a preview than the actual file, if that makes sense. Okay, so if that is not satisfying or functional for you, then you want to scroll down past that web preview of it, where you can kind of scroll through the slides one by one and slap that like and subscribe. I'm kidding. What you want to do is download the actual source file instead of looking at the weak sauce preview. Hit the download button and download the file, and then you're good to go. You can play that in actual regular PowerPoint. So let me show you just a short version of what that looks like. Okay, so I'll pull up the file I just downloaded and switch my screen share to that. So that'll take just a sec. While I'm pulling up PowerPoint, does anybody have any questions about this stuff? Like, we're foresters, we're not really IT guys and gals. So if this is confusing and frustrating for you, stick with me, we'll get you through.
So any one of them is fine as long as you go for your own, like as long as you understand it.
Yeah, as long as you got the actual file instead of the preview. The preview by itself isn't going to help you with a lot of things. Question from chat from Sam. How many potatoes does it take to run 1080p? Well, really the question we want to be asking is how many lemons does it take to run, 8K? But our answer for potatoes would be somewhere in the range of 150 to 200 to get the correct voltage. And we run through it pretty fast, but it could work. By God, we can make it work. Okay, so let me stop the share of our web page and show you what that PowerPoint actually looks like. The one final crucial step in getting to how this actually should work so that it's the richest and most effective experience for you, as much as like looking at any PowerPoint could be a rich experience, right? I get it. The last thing you want to make sure to do is actually running the PowerPoint instead of looking at it in edit mode. All right, so you hit the start presentation button and it actually shows the animations and stuff like that. Okay, so I just downloaded the file from our course website. This is exactly the file that you are looking at if you've downloaded it or you're looking at the preview. And in edit mode, sometimes we'll get the animations working as here, sometimes not so much. So you want to hit that start show button in OS X on Apple computers. It's down at the bottom right-hand corner. It might be in a slightly different place on Windows, but you can always go up to the slideshow menu at the top of the screen and hit play from start and just run through it. Okay. So I've designed these to be as hopefully self-explanatory and functional as possible without being completely just dry text and stuff like that. All right, so the way this is meant to look is full screen actually running in presentation mode. Everybody can see that?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, so in that case, we'll have some animations to help kind of bring things alive, but also to help you think about all of these principles of rec management. These do not exist on slides. They exist in the real world where things are moving and changing and weather is messing stuff up and people are getting lost in the forest and stuff like that. Or, trying to take a duck lip style selfie on the prow of their little sailing yacht and getting knocked over. The America's Cup was the other day. One of the ships went airborne. That was pretty sick. So again, it's kind of a couple extra steps to, instead of using the static and broken web preview on D2L, the real thing is definitely in downloading it and running it full screen. Okay. and then
And this
just
will run
have
with audio, or do you want us to like put on the audio while looking at this?
put on the audio while looking at this. So that's exactly
that's
what
what you
I'm
were
doing.
saying.
I'm running through the PowerPoint and just kind of talking you through it with that stuff. Okay. So we want to start the basic idea with these terms and definitions are to kind of first recognize that a lot of the, like, we're not going to learn a lot of new words out of this PowerPoint, but we are definitely going to learn some specific and professional uses of a bunch of keywords in this part, in this sector of forestry. Like when we're talking about serious leisure versus casual leisure, right? Those are pretty common words, but those terms mean something really pretty important and specific for you as a park ranger. If a bunch of your visitors come into your, county park or state forest or county forest preserve or state park, or your federally designated wilderness area or your national park, whatever. If you have a bunch of serious leisure people, and the audio files explain what that is. If you have serious leisure folks coming, you're gonna have to manage that wildlife habitat differently than if you got a bunch of casual folks. And it's not that the serious leisure folks, kind of the more hardcore recreationists, like the die-hard hunters, fishermen, folks that are wingsuit jumping, base jumping off of cliffs, after rock climbing, free soloing up. It's not that they're better or worse than somebody who's more of a casual leisure person. Like they're not even aware that there are multiple kinds of rock climbing, like traditional versus sport. Bouldering's kind of this third party thing nearby conceptually with it. And these slides don't by themselves necessarily kind of pick apart the explanation on what's going on there. So what you want to do is, again, get the textbook that we identified in the syllabus on Tuesday in our class session. There's a chapter in there for terms and definitions, and this PowerPoint and the audio, between the reading and me walking you through some of this stuff as well, with hopefully plenty of useful examples, you should get a pretty finely honed sense of, okay, so there's a lot more to being a park ranger than making sure folks are having a good time out in the woods. Like there's a lot more, and this is the foundation on which we're going to build that understanding. Okay, cool. All right, so there's a bunch of stuff in there, and try to explain it as clearly as possible. As you guys are running through the PowerPoints again, I'm available during office hours. I'll be available during our class sessions here. Not so much to repeat what's on those videos and audio, like you have access to that stuff 24 hours a day. You don't necessarily need me to absorb that effectively. But what I really want to do is be available for answering your questions during our class time here, and then also during office hours, again, 1 to 4 p.m. on Tuesday and Thursday after class. So give me a quick break for lunch, and then I'll be around just kind of hanging out on Zoom while I'm, explaining stuff with you guys, or, working on other things, uploading the next stuff. That's all fine. And I would be delighted to help you understand any of this stuff. So if you work through all this stuff over the next couple of days, this is usually 1 to 3 lectures in a normal year when we're not doing this all kind of separately at home or in your dorm room. So don't feel like you have to tackle all of this in one sitting in an hour. That's kind of a lot, but if you do, awesome, nice work, whatever. And any part of it that just doesn't really gel in your head, I'm here for you. I will help you understand it. We'll customize some examples to not only update this from when the recordings were made last year, but kind of contextualize whatever the particular slide you're having trouble with is relative to your own individual experiences. So if you grew up camping versus grew up fishing versus grew up on your Xbox versus, whatever, there's a way to kind of hook whatever we're talking to your lived experience. And that's a lot more fun for me than just driving through PowerPoint. So roll through this stuff. take a look kind of today, tomorrow, over the weekend. Come back, hit me up on Tuesday during class with any questions that you have, and we'll talk about this
So,
stuff. We got
for
plenty of
these,
time.
Sorry, real quick. So for these like lectures, try and take your time on these just to make sure you understand it, but not like
Yeah.
slow, just like, I don't know, like 30 minutes for, like, space it out in like 3 days, 30 minutes for one day, 30 minutes for another day, 30 minutes, or like however, just as long as you start to understand like what the meaning is, right?
Yeah, so that's a really effective strategy. Spaced repetition of breaking it down into smaller chunks, not like a 6-hour marathon where you're like sliding lower and lower in your seat and stuff like that, and your just eyes are glassed over and you're thinking about something else. That's not really effective learning. But if you read through some of this stuff, it works really well to transcribe some notes. So it forces your brain to actually work on what you're doing instead of just like looking at slides going by and not really like engaging with them. So take your own notes, print out the slides if you want to, and physically write on them. That's a fantastic way and will increase both your comprehension and stuff like quiz scores. And then set it down and go do something else, get some exercise, drink some water. We're all going to be hydro homies this semester, and come back to it the next day just for half an hour, right? This class is not going to kill you. So hopefully that's a good set of strategies for you. We only have a couple more minutes left in our sort of official class session. So if there are any other questions, now's your moment to tackle those with me. I do have to switch to another online class right at 11, so I can't really stick much past our 10:50 deadline each morning. But again, I will be back around in our Zoom session in the afternoon on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 to 4. Happy to help. You are not gonna irritate me by showing up and asking good questions there. All right?
Just one real quick question.
Yeah.
So like, will you tell us on D12, like when we're starting another, like when we're gonna stop doing the leisure, the definitions and terms, and then we're going to like history? Will you kind of like say like, hey, we're starting on history on this day, so get ready, kind of thing? Or will you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
just
and
want to
here's
make sure, because
specifically
like,
how I'm going to do that. So the course website has a couple of tools that will help us kind of organize this and block it out throughout the semester to keep it kind of even progress throughout. First is the calendar, which I believe is in the communications menu, maybe. Then there's also the checklist, which is up in those menus as well. So the checklist is just kind of an ordered list. The calendar is just a bunch of boxes with dates in them, and they have the same information, but one is calendar format and the other is a list. So kind of however you think, use that tool. I will always also link from the front page where those announcements were. I'll always link beforehand and or day of, kind of when, if you're moving lockstep with our general schedule, again, you can be flexible, but if you want to sort of keep pace with the class, I'll always have stuff linked right from that announcements thing, so you don't have to go digging in a bunch of menus to find where everything is. I understand that, again, we're not really here to be IT professionals. We're here to get some forestry done. So I want to get you to the content as quickly and easily as possible and as clearly timed as possible as well. So calendar, checklist, and announcements front page. All right.
all
That's
right,
about all the time we got.
thank you.
A minute over, so we gotta stop here. I'll stop the recording and upload this for your classmates who weren't able to make it. We'll maybe see some of you this afternoon with some